I'd like to briefly introduce you to the course English 221, which is the first course in the English Literature Survey. I was not meant, as some of you already know, to be the instructor of the course, and I know some of you have probably had Betty Peterson and are probably disappointed that she is not with us this fall. I'm not going to pretend to replace her expertise, her kindness, or her wisdom, but I'll do as good a job as I can in the course. I'm very much a generalist, which I think is probably true of most community college teachers. Some have a PhD, but usually what we do is do teaching instead of research. My own background is in fiction writing. I have a Master of Fine Arts from Bennington College, and I've taught here at SCC for 30 years. And I've been enjoying getting ready for this course because it's been a journey back through some works I really haven't read in many years. The nature of our course means that I have to provide you with some guidance, and I have to give you some requirements to make the course have academic integrity. But I see myself very much as a learner alongside you, and I often learn a lot from my students who call my attention to things maybe that I have missed. I did have a graduate course devoted specifically to Chaucer, but it was in 1984, and I have taught this course before, just not recently. One of the most interesting things is, since I teach English 135, the Greek and Roman mythology course, I've especially enjoyed seeing some parallels between the heroic literature of the medieval period and Homer. And for those of you who are English majors, I think you'll see that this happens, that when you come back to works at different periods in your life, all those things that you're learning in other contexts seem to be relatable in a way that maybe you wouldn't have realized. I'm already enjoying the course, frankly, in creating some of these PowerPoints for you, and I hope that you'll enjoy the course too. I do want to give a shout out to beautiful Betty, who was a brilliant teacher, poet, playwright, and my best friend for the last 30 years. We took a trip to England, as one might expect from people who love English. And she is the beautiful lady in the UK sweatshirt on the right, and I'm on the left at Stonehenge. The other photo of the two of us was taken in Oxford at the Eagle and Child pub. J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were part of a group called the Inklings, and they met there to talk about writing and scholarship and drink ale. Tolkien, as you may know, was an expert in the field of Old and Middle English. So we really saw a lot of things that renewed our passion for English. Now, this is a survey course, and that essentially means that we have a few weeks to cover centuries of literature. So the idea is that you'll dip your toe in, and that some of you throughout your future career will remain, like me, very much a generalist. And a generalist is somebody who knows a little bit about a lot of subjects, at least within my majors. Others of you may find during survey courses that you just absolutely fall in love with a period, and you want to focus your energies on becoming an expert with a deep knowledge of a particular period, writer, or movement. Since I've been talking about Tolkien, and I'll bring him up occasionally, at least during the first part of this course, Tolkien was studying classics, which would be the old Greek and Roman materials, and he wasn't all that engaged until he changed his major and focused on early and middle English, and then there you go. That impacted the rest of his life. Because this course doesn't just fill the general election requirement for a bachelor's or an associate's degree, but at most colleges will count toward your major, we'll cover some portion of all the major works we have time for, and we cannot cover everything. But our study will also include the application of some literary conventions and terms to various genres and periods. Literature, like all the arts, is not only creative, but it's crafted. A story or a poem is a thing that is made, And just as I saw the pencil lines in a William Blake watercolor that I was fortunate to be able to examine at the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, we can analyze the material from which a poem, a novel, or a play is made. And that's part of what we do when we study them. One emphasis of my own, and it's both for my students as I try to be the first among equals in reading, and for myself, is that I like to remember that creative work does not appear in a vacuum. This is a myth that was perpetuated by the Romantics because they were so in love with the idea of the imagination. And of course, the Romantics were rebelling against the period before, so they wanted to pretend that they hadn't learned anything from those old boys that had preceded them. But if you look at the poems as they were working on them, and you see all the crossouts and emendations of their manuscripts, you'll see that yes, they were inspired, but they also worked very, very hard at craft. And of course, a person whose head is full of learning is a whole lot more likely to have something to say walking across a field of daffodils than someone whose head is not. Hildegard of Bingen was not English, but she was medieval, and she was a 12th century nun and polymath who had these visions that a neurologist speculated came out of a migraine headache. Only God can think of a world out of his head, and if you look at Hildegard's painting on the left, you can see that that's essentially what God is doing in her 6 days of creation. He is making up the furniture and creatures of the world out of his head. So what we have here for study, the things that we're going to read, has come down to us because the scholars or the powerful thought it was important enough to save. So we have, in some sense, what they wanted us to read. But we also, thank heavens, have material saved by the not so powerful who saved things anyway or published it anyway out of love and admiration for its beauty, or sometimes because their politics or their religion was heretical, and sometimes maybe even saved it out of spite. And more than we might think, we have manuscripts purely because of luck. A cache of parchment in an amphora in the desert is uncovered by a shepherd, and it turns out to be ancient Hebrew texts. And those are the texts of Nag Hammadi. A fragment of copper is hidden in a little boy's treasure box in London. Well, he turned out to be the little boy that William Blake gave art lessons to. And what the people who were sort of taking the house apart to find out what to donate and what to sell found the only remnant of one of the copper plates that William Blake used in making some of his handmade books. Billy Budd the sailor was found in manuscript form in a cake tin in New Bedford because after Moby Dick, Herman Melville couldn't get published anymore, and he was no longer successful. And so if someone hadn't looked in that cake tin, who knows, I suppose, where that manuscript would have ended up. So as we look at these huge volumes and this thin paper, and we think about how much there is to read and how much there is to study, and how little of it we're going to get to during our short 15 weeks time period, we might also imagine how much more treasure have we missed. So all the usual codicils apply. They are all in the syllabus, so read the syllabus, and at least read one syllabus that's got all that stuff they've all got on them. If you have questions, ask me. That's what I'm here for. Don't apologize for emailing me. Don't apologize for emailing me at 11 at night because I'm in the bed and you will not wake me up. I will not hear a noise. It will not wake me. I will answer it in the morning. So ask me. Ask me when you think of it. I will get to it when I'm not asleep. Obviously, keep up with the reading and the assignments. I'm not. I'm going to try to shape the assignments in such a way that the reading is a little bit even, but obviously there are going to be some weeks that there's going to be more reading than there is other. Follow the college rules detailed in the syllabus. I have to follow them, so I can only do what the catalog tells me I can. Seek help on technical matters from technical people because I'm not, and that's where I would have to go in many cases. You can certainly ask me any question, technical or not, and if I can answer it, I'll try. If not, I'll try to direct you to someone who can. When you go to the menu, and I'm just now building the course at this point, there is a start here, and there'll be lots of items down there that will give you resources to help you with your writing, a glossary to help you, lots of different things. I love all this literature in some way. Some I love better than I love others, except for Dryden, because I could never get Dryden. But I'm hoping that since I haven't taught it a long time, my heart will have grown fonder for him. Um, and if I get to Dryden and I find out he's still as dry as I remember him, we'll probably dip our toes in. And if at the end of the course you feel that you did not get enough Dryden, well, I suppose there'll be a course for that somewhere at university. And the videos are cool. There's a really great video in the first unit about bookmaking from the Getty Museum. It's only 6 minutes long. So I'll have all the material for you in each unit. I love PowerPoints, so I will make PowerPoints and then I will probably store them as MP4 so that you can watch them on YouTube with a link, but I'll also post them as a PDF file, so if you just want to read all the stuff, you can. As you do see, I do add some things, but I'll try for it not to be something that you can't get from a transcript. If it's on the test, I'll make sure that you have access to all of the information. It's just how you prefer to learn. I like this class already, and I hope that as you begin to do the reading, you will as well. See you in class.